Hello, my name is Galina Kurdina. I live in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I am a victim of psychotronic mind control weapons. At the beginning of April last year, 2013, I filed a complaint with the Human Rights Tribunal of Ontario. It was dismissed in December of last year, 2013. I decided to file an appeal with the Divisional Court of Ontario. On the 23rd, there was a hearing. On the 23rd of October this year, there was a hearing in the Divisional Court, and unfortunately, my appeal was dismissed. I would like to read you my speech that I delivered on the 23rd of October this year. Nature of action. I make a complaint against Toronto Police Services for discrimination against me, negligence, breach of duty, negligent infliction of emotional distress. I am sure that in my case, discrimination and negligence are linked to each other. Negligence causes discrimination against me on the part of the Toronto Police Service. Actually, negligence and neglect are forms of discrimination contrary to the code. Police of Toronto have a duty of care for me. Toronto Police Services used my disability as a ruse and refused to start investigation after I had reported to them my symptoms and names of suspects, provided them with medical records and records from a private investigator that I am a victim of psychotronic mind control weapons. Refusal of the Toronto Police to start investigation allowed further experimental activity and therefore harm be done for me. Doing nothing of the police in this situation is actually a form of sanctioning perpetrators through their inaction to stop them. Psychotronic mind control weapons exist and induce exactly the same symptoms that I experience. I testify that I have experienced the following symptoms and reported them to police since January 2006. I experienced pressure from above on my forehead, temples, crown. I experience inability to concentrate and think and analyze as I did before. I experience voices to skull, it means voices in my head. I experience very clear visual images. I experience loss of memory, induced forced speech, induced forced actions, involuntary body movements. I have lived in this fascist concentration camp for more than 8 years. The effect of the remote electronic torture caused my inability to perform mentally and physically as I desire. I am daily being robbed of my intellect, thoughts, memory, feeling, emotions, will, manipulated as a computer device 24 hours every day. I point out that my actions are not completely mine today. Today and all the time. Complaint. I became a disabled person formally as a result of false psychiatric diagnosis, actually because psychotronic mind control effects upon me and negligence of authorities, including the Toronto Police, that refused to investigate this crime. For any reason, I am a disabled person now. I have never ever denied my disability, but I denied the formal cause of it. False psychiatric diagnosis, since I am sure that actual reason of the disability is electromagnetic influence upon me. My disability was admitted as substantial, and I have got Ontario Disability Income Support since October 2008. I am sure that I have been sane so far, but if these diagnoses are true, the psychosis and delusional disorder are the result of the influence of electromagnetic energy, psychotronic effects, and negligence of authorities, including police. The only serious stress that I experienced was the stress intentionally inflicted by the effects of electromagnetic energy, psychotronic weapon attacks, and negligence of authorities, including police officers. There were no other reasons to develop psychosis or delusional disorder. I have proved that I am under health and life-threatening attacks of psychotronic weapon and demonstrated to police officers all of them. Dr. Steninger, a toxicologist, wrote in her expert report dated June 14, 2009. In summation, Ms. Galina Kurdina has been experiencing the effects of specific electromagnetic and radio frequency fields being targeted to her home since January 2006. These frequency ranges react with specific nano and advanced microelectronics materials that are being created in universities and being utilized commercially by industry, medicine, pharmaceutical, government, and military for monitoring, communications, and sensory applications. Dr. Steninger wrote in the addendum to the report dated the 24th of October 2009. Ms. Kurdina's previous history of directed energy exposure not only causes a roller coaster effect of cholinesterase levels, but will react with advanced nanomaterials that are used as RFID chips to send signals to the body. Dr. June Steiner, duly qualified expert in the field of hypnotherapy and treatment of victims of psychotronic weapons, wrote in the expert opinion dated May 13, 2009. I specialize in treating trauma victims, including those victimized by directed energy weapons, electromagnetic weapons, and/or psychotronic weapons. My work with patients who are victims of directed energy weapons show identical symptoms as those Galina Kurdina reports experiencing. I have experienced success in working with those attacked by directed energy weapons and have no reason to think that Galina cannot be treated successfully. I attest that her physical and psychological symptoms are clearly a direct result of directed energy weapons attacks upon her person. Attacks by directed energy weapons cause the reported severe stress reaction that shows itself as a serious post-traumatic stress disorder. The psychological effects of this type of a severe stress reaction often create the physical, cognitive, emotional, and behavioral symptoms as reported by Galina Kurdina. I have seen no evidence of a psychotic or delusional disorder or any other mental illness. Her symptoms have been complicated by the fact that those treating her are not familiar with directed energy weapons. Therefore, the problems have heightened because she does not experience being believed or supposed, thereby increasing her stress. Her functioning is greatly impacted in most areas of her life, and therefore her work and relationships are very difficult. The impact of not being believed is harmful to her state of well-being. As well, I have an affidavit of Melinda Kidder, sworn with a notary on the 1st of October 2012, a duly qualified private detective licensed in Missouri State, United States of America, that reads that I am a victim of mind control influence. Melinda Kidder has evaluated the qualifications and work of Dr. Steninger in regard to her work for me. Melinda states that Dr. Steninger is properly certified, able to address my concerns in regard to psychotronic weapons, is considered as expert in the field of toxicology, and testified in previous unrelated litigation as an expert witness. Melinda has no doubt regarding veracity of Dr. Steninger's conclusions that I am a victim of specific electromagnetic effects and have nanomaterials in my systems that send signals to my mind and body. Melinda has evaluated the qualifications of Dr. Steiner and states that she is well qualified to make evaluations and determine my psychological status. Melinda Kidder concludes that perpetrators of my implantation have been using and will continue to use this technology to electronically stalk and harass me if the judicial system and law enforcement do not intervene. Torture, assault, battery, fraud, harassment, stalking, human experimentation without informed consent, intentional infliction of emotional distress, invasion of privacy are committed against me, and I reported to Toronto Police Services more than 10 times, provided them with symptoms of well-known electromagnetic energy and psychotronic attacks, and names of suspects, Lee Chen and family of landlords at 73 Mossbrook Crest, Scarborough, Ontario, Canada. The police refused to start investigation, using my disability as a ruse to refuse. The forms of discrimination against me are negligence, disadvantage, prejudice, and stereotyping based on my mental disability. As usual, police officers do not want to listen to me when I read excerpts from my experts' opinions. Officers say that they do not believe them and I am just delusional. When I tell them that I may be both a mentally disabled person and a victim of mind control, police officers answer that I am only psychotic and all my symptoms just seem to me. Police officer Aiden even jumped in front of me when she denied that I could be a victim of mind control. These are pure examples of police negligence, disadvantage, prejudice, stereotyping, and discrimination against mentally disabled person. First and second time, I reported to the police division number 41 in January 2006. Both times, police officers sent me to health departments and refused to start investigation. I reported to the police division number 52 and said to them name of suspect Lee Chen, but police officers refused to investigate. I reported to police division number 33 and talked to police officer Thompson on the 29th of December 2006. I told him my story and said to him name of the suspect Lee Chen. He refused to start investigation and suggested to go to a doctor. I reported to police division number 33 and talked to police officer Castle and Nicholas on the 16th of December 2007. I told them name of the suspect Lee Chen, but they refused to investigate. Police officer Castle asked me twice, "What do you think? What government affects you? Maybe Russian?" I answered that I strongly believed it was the Canadian government. At least it sanctions all these attacks, because police, RCMP, and other government structures had been aware of these experiments since January 2006, but did not start investigation, despite the fact that experimenters lived and visited the house at 73 Mossbrook Crest, Scarborough, where I rented a basement apartment, and I heard their Russian speech, saw their faces, and reported it to the police with the names of the suspects. Officers Castle and Nicholas gave me a lift to the Scarborough Grace Hospital to a member of a crisis program. This member of crisis program was the same person who came to me to 73 Mossbrook Crest in 2006. He said that he had to refer me to the same Dr. Gratzer to whom he referred me in 2006, and who formed a full psychiatric diagnosis for me. This member of crisis program suggested to me to go home. I agreed and went home. On the 6th of February 2008, police officers Constable Corby and Constable Khan from the 33rd Division of the Toronto Police Services came to my apartment, and Constable Corby said to me that he heard noises and sounds in his head. It proves that I am under health and life-threatening attacks of psychotronic weapons, since microwave hearing is one of the incapacitating effects of psychotronic weapons. On the 24th of April 2008, Constable Corby said that his hearing was impaired by microwaves on the 6th of February 2008 in my room, and he heard these sounds everywhere all the day long after visiting me. He also said that he could not testify against government since he worked for it. I talked to the police officer Gottschalk in the 33rd Division on the 24th of April 2008, and he created a file in their computer system. It was done 2 years and 3 months after the first report to the police division number 41 of Toronto in January 2006. I and my landlady reported to the police officer Goschuk that I recorded more than 200 voltsmeter for radio frequency 10 MHz and other radio frequency many times, but nothing has changed so far. On the 20th of June 2012, I reported that I was under psychotronic mind control influence to Mr. Sheldon from Mobile Crisis Program and police officer Aiden, number 2235, from the 43rd Division of the Toronto Police, who came to my place. Officer Aiden said to me that she did not know and did not understand anything in electromagnetic weapons. Furthermore, she told that police do not investigate crimes committed by electromagnetic weapons. She insisted that an assault by means of electromagnetic weapons is not an assault at all. Aiden did not want to listen, interrupted me, and said that she did not want to hear my symptoms and extracts from my medical records. I read the medical records of Dr. Stenninger and Steiner. She said to me that I did not have any damage after I had read to her medical records of Dr. Steiner that I developed post-traumatic stress disorder as a result of electromagnetic attacks and negligence of authorities. She denied that it may be that I am a disabled person and I am a victim of psychotronic weapons at the same time. She directed me to psychiatrists. On the 11th of November 2012, officers from the 43rd Division of the Toronto Police Services, pool number 9936, and De Silva, 10675, came to my place. They asked to send to Detective Redfern, number 5961, all proofs of psychotronic mind control weapons upon me that I had. I sent to him 2 email letters with reports of Drs. Stenninger, Spanier, Steiner, Joyce Myers, and a report from a private investigator, Melinda Kidder. On the 19th of November 2012, I called the 43rd Division of the Toronto Police Service and asked a police officer to pass Detective Redfern my phone number, but Detective Redfern did not start any investigation and did not call me back. I feel worse with every passing day, experience pressure from above, hypnotic states, inability to think by myself, voices and sounds in my head, loss of memory, forced speech, involuntary body movements, induced actions, 24 hours, 7 days per week, except time when I sleep. I needed immediate help of the emergency service and called 911 on the 3rd of June 2013. Police officers Clark, number 10772, Gonzalez, number 5417, and Sergeant Danny Diane, number 6143, came to my place with 3 medical workers from ambulance. I tried to read excerpts from documents that I had, but they interrupted me, talked to themselves, and did not want to listen to me, said that they did not trust reports from my experts. They referred me to psychiatrists, reported to me that they did not have any equipment and training to measure electromagnetic frequency, said to me that they work for the Canadian government and that is why they cannot investigate crimes committed or sanctioned by the government. As usual, their hot desire was to put me in psychiatric hospital. They could not do it, since I said to them that I was not going to harm anybody, including myself, and they decided to arrest me instead. The police took me to the 41st Division on the 3rd of June 2013, after that moved to the 55th Division and brought to the criminal court on the 4th of June 2013. I spent one night in Vanier Center for Women. I was charged with mischief interference with property and released on the 5th of June 2013. The court withdrew all charges from me on the 13th of March 2014. On the 7th of July 2014, I sent an email letter to Councillor Glenn de Bayermaeker, Ward 38. Dear Sir, my name is Galina Kurdina, and I live at 50 Tuxedo Court, Unit 601. I am a victim of mind-controlled torture. I have experienced the following symptoms since January 2006. First, constant microwave hearing and torture with intense loud noise. Second, visual distortions and my hallucinations, artificial dreams. Third, manipulation of will, emotions, feelings, and perceptions. Fourth, manipulation of behavior. Fourth, induced speech, involuntary body movements, transmissions of specific commands into the subconscious, compulsory execution of these commands. Fifth, reading thoughts remotely, retrieving memory, implanting personalities. Sixth, debilitation of mental acuity, inability to concentrate, disruption of ability to think rationally and independently. 7. Loss of memory and knowledge. 8. Inadequate states which I have never experienced before. States of narcotic intoxication, depression, obsessive desires, and so on. 9. Control of sleep patterns, sleep deprivation or uncontrollable sleep. 10. Cramps, seizures, and spasms. 11. Excruciating artificial pain in any part of the body, including heart attacks and other serious medical conditions. I have medical records that prove that I am a victim of specific electromagnetic effects and have nanomaterials in my system that I use as chips to send signals to my mind and body. I have records from a private investigator as well. I reported to the Toronto police over and over again, but have had my appeals for assistance and protection completely ignored and suppressed. I need your help in order to start an investigation of this crime. On the 21st of July 2014, I received an answer from Angela Di Fintorum, assistant to Councillor Glenn de Bayermaeker. Angela Di Fintorum writes, Dear Galina, I hope all is well. We are very sorry to hear about the list of symptoms that you have been experiencing. 8 years of continuous mind-control torture is a very serious matter. We have already forwarded your list of concerns to Toronto Police in order for them to take the appropriate action and to address your situation. If you have any other questions or concerns, please do not hesitate in contacting our office. With best wishes, Angela Di Fintorum. I have not received any phone calls, faxes, letters, email letters from the Toronto Police Service so far. It proves that the Toronto Police negligence one more time. I called RCMP regarding mind control attacks upon me in 2006. An officer woman said to me that the National Security Department of RCMP investigated these crimes and redirected me to such a department in Toronto. Constable Steve Frith answered my call and told me that there were no laws to defend me in Canada. I called RCMP in 2012 one more time. This time their reply was, report to police first of all, and police will decide what to do the next. Police can involve RCMP specialists or completely redirect investigation to RCMP. The Toronto Police Service breached the duty of care to me. An ordinary person cannot find a particular service in Canada, particular department in this service, and particular people in this department who investigate crimes committed by means of electromagnetic weapons. The only thing that this ordinary person can do is to report to police about these crimes, and police services have to start the investigation and, if it is necessary, to directly report to another service that deals with these crimes. The Toronto Police Service refused to start an investigation after I had said to them my symptoms and names of suspects, showed them medical records and records from the private investigator with proof that I am a victim of psychotronic mind control attacks, and sent me to psychiatrists. If they believe that I am delusional, not aware of what I am saying, and it just seems to me that I am a victim of mind control, their judgment is criminal as well, since my experts and their opinions are not delusional, they are sane. Any person, including a delusional, may become an involuntary human subject in fascist extreme experiments by means of psychotronic mind control weapons, may be affected, tortured, and killed by these specific electromagnetic effects. The police cannot refuse to investigate just on the ground that a person is mentally disabled, since the person may be mentally disabled and a victim of mind control both at the same time, and there is need for further police investigation, especially when this person provides police with proofs of mind control effects. I am absolutely sure that mentally disabled people are a very special interest for information technology company, pharmaceutical corporations, firms that produce medical equipment. These companies may develop special equipment and programs to cure mental diseases, for example depression. They can use such people without their consent as free of charge guinea pigs in order to test their equipment, debug their computer programs, and train their personnel. If the police have clear and concise criteria how to detect during short conversations that a person is just insane and does not suffer any electromagnetic energy and psychotronic weapons attacks, I want them to provide us with these criteria. If they do not inform us of them, it means that police cannot investigate cases of just psychiatric illness and cases of mind control influence during such short conversations with people, and their judgment that I have just problems of medical nature and do not suffer electromagnetic energy and psychotronic weapons attacks is wrong, subjective, criminal, and infringes upon rights of mentally disabled people. The police had to start the investigation, if it is necessary, redirect it to another service, and find out that I was affected by electromagnetic energy and psychotronic weapon. Instead, they are doing nothing, allowed further experimental activity, and therefore harm be done for me. It identifies the Toronto Police Service as a guilty party, failing to properly listen to and respect the voices of mental health consumers and keeping aid from reaching them. The actions of police are against the laws and that prevent such activities and need to be stopped. It is a matter of public record that police can lie legally under many circumstances, including so-called national security. I assert that the liability of police to tell the truth is limited by their own interests. So we must understand that police may involve their own attorneys for this case, and that the attorneys may not be aware of the police actions they are representing and are unreliable with regard to knowing the truth. The crudest forms of the electromagnetic energy and psychotronic weapons attacks could be used to distract individuals, so it is possible that a targeted individual who experiences these attacks becomes mentally disabled because of them. I deeply believe that I have been sane so far, but if real mental disorder takes place as a result of psychotronic mind control attacks, where I cannot do anything, it will leave police free from liability, because a zombie could be all that is left to examine the effects of police criminal discrimination and negligence. Torture with expectation of my death will free police from liability since witnesses are eliminated. The crimes described in this complaint are crimes against humanity. These experiments are precisely the same experiments that German fascists committed on prisoners in concentration camps during World War II. Dr. Mengele transformed people into biorobots by means of injections. Modern Dr. Mengele transform people into computer devices by means of psychotronic mind control weapons. German fascists were executed for these crimes after the Nuremberg process. If we leave these criminal activities unpunished, the same future activities will more likely stay without any punishment. And right now or tomorrow, it could be you, the perpetrators choose in secret. 2 issues regarding my factum. There are 2 issues on this appeal. First, did Vice Chair Mr. Kershaw err in finding that the application has no reasonable prospect of success, since there is not sufficient evidence available to connect the unfair treatment experienced by the plaintiff applicant with the applicant's personal characteristics, mental disability? Every time police officers claim that the plaintiff complaints are mental health problems, refuse to investigate this crime, and send the plaintiff to psychiatrists. The synopsis for a guilty plea dated the 3rd of June 2013 states directly that the applicant has had prior dealing with police, all relating to mental health. See Exhibit 9, synopsis. For a guilty plea. The synopsis states that the applicant's 3 calls to 911 services on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of June 2013 were not an emergency, but an obvious mental health issue. It states that the applicant was referred to the doctors. This document, prepared by Toronto police officers, connects the unfair treatment experienced by plaintiff applicant with the applicant's personal characteristics, mental disability. The second issue, did the learned vice chair err in finding that the police officers did not investigate the applicant's allegations because the nature of the applicant's complaints did not constitute a crime which they could investigate, and not because of any assumption that the applicants had a mental illness? Human Rights Tribunal erred in failing to find that the nature of the applicant's complaints constitutes a crime which the police must investigate. Idea of the Toronto Police Service that the nature of the applicant's complaint is just a fact and does not constitute a crime is not true. The laws in Schedule B are violated by criminals, perpetrators who attack the applicant by means of psychotronic mind control weapons. The laws in Schedule B include Schedule B for my factum. It means these laws in Schedule B include Nuremberg Code, Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, Criminal Code, and International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. The synopsis for a guilty plea dated the 3rd of June 2013 proves that every time when the Toronto Police Service refused to investigate psychotronic mind control attacks upon the applicant, they adamantly insist that these attacks are just obvious mental health issues. If the Toronto Police Service cannot investigate these crimes because they do not have necessary equipment, computer programs, and trained personnel, they have to start investigation anyway, and after that to redirect it to RCMP or another service that investigates these crimes committed by means of electromagnetic weapons, at least involve them into the Toronto police investigation. Several issues regarding factum of the Toronto Police Services. The lawyer for the Toronto Police Services does not mention synopsis for a guilty plea submitted to Police and Human Rights Tribunal in September 2013. The Toronto Police Services ignore the synopsis for guilty plea, despite the fact that I mentioned it during the conference call on the 1st of October. I would like to read some excerpts one more time. The accused in this matter has had prior dealing with police, all relating to mental health. The investigation officers determined that it was not an emergency, but an obvious mental health issue. Unfortunately, there were no grounds to apprehend the accused under the Mental Health Act. The accused was referred to the doctors. If the Human Rights Tribunal and Toronto Police Services Board had taken this synopsis into consideration, they would have never made the conclusions that they made. Paragraph 24, subparagraph I reads, did the tribunal err in not finding that police refusals to investigate her complaint of June 2012 and November 2012 amount to discrimination, contrary to the code? In this paragraph, lawyer for the Toronto Police Services misinterprets paragraph 2, subparagraph 1 of the Notice of Application. The tribunal err in not finding that the decision of police officers not to take into consideration documents amounts to negligence, disadvantage, prejudice, stereotyping, and discrimination contrary to the code. Paragraph 45 in the Toronto Police Services factum reads, it is not open to the tribunal to find discrimination based on the applicant's feelings and beliefs. It states that Toronto Police Service one more time neglects expert opinions of Dr. Stenninger, Steiner, and private investigator Melinda Kidder, that I am a victim of mind control and specific electromagnetic attacks upon me, and insist that all my complaints are just feelings and beliefs. Paragraph 52 of factum. This case is the case of discrimination not because police assess me as a person with mental health issues and send me to psychiatrists. This is a case of substantial discrimination, negligence, disadvantage, prejudice, and stereotyping, since the police do not want to take into consideration my experts' opinions that I am a victim of mind control effects. Do not let me read these opinions. Do not listen to them, interrupt me, say to me that I am delusional, psychotic, and my symptoms just seem to me. This case is the crystal clear case of discrimination contrary to the code. Even if the police assess me as a delusional report from saying Dr. Stenninger, Steiner, and private investigator Melinda Kidder prove that I am a targeted individual who experiences specific electromagnetic and radio frequency influence. The factum of the Toronto Police Service reads in paragraph 56. The tribunal accepted the submissions of the board that its police officers did not investigate Ms. Cordina's allegations because the nature of her complaints did not constitute a crime and not because of any assumptions that she had a mental illness. Nature of the applicant's complaints constitutes a crime which the police must investigate. Idea of the Toronto police that the nature of the applicant's complaints is just a fact and does not constitute a crime is not true. The laws in Schedule B are violated by criminals perpetrators who attack the applicant by means of psychotronic mind control weapons Laws in Schedule B include Nuremberg Code, Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, Criminal Code, and International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. The synopsis for a guilty plea, dated the 3rd of June 2013, proves that every time when the Toronto police refused to investigate psychotronic mind control attacks upon me, they adamantly insist that their attacks are just obvious mental health issues. If the Toronto Police Services cannot investigate these crimes because they do not have necessary equipment, computer programs, and trained personnel, they have to start investigation anyway, and after that to redirect it to RCMP or another service that investigates crimes committed by means of electromagnetic weapons, at least involve them into the police investigation. The factum of the Toronto Police Service reads in paragraph 56, "Indeed, the officers who attended the applicant's home exercised professional judgment and responded to her claims, and did it so in a manner that was appropriate in the circumstance, including encouraging her to seek medical attention. It is not true. The police officers interrupted me, did not want to listen to me. Officer Aiden jumped in front of me when I tried to read excerpts from my expert's opinion. Eventually, the Toronto police arrested me on the 3rd of June 2013. All charges were withdrawn on the 13th of March 2014. I just want to say to you that my former family Dr. Chow said to me during tete-a-tete private conversation in 2006 that bad government was responsible for these experiments on my family. I would like to read you a law regarding invasion of privacy from Criminal Code 184. First, everyone who by means of any electromagnetic, acoustic, mechanical, or other device willfully intercepts a private communication is guilty of an indictable offense and liable to imprisonment for a term that not exceeding 5 years. On the 27th of October this year, I received answer from Divisional Court. I would like to read you excerpts from this answer. Endorsement. Ms. Kurdina seeks judicial review of the decision of the Human Rights Tribunal of Ontario dated December 4th, 2013, that summarily dismissed her claim of discrimination based on disability. Ms. Kurdina's claim arises from the failure of officers of the Toronto Police Service to investigate her complaints that she has been the victim of psychotronic mind control caused by weapons of electromagnetic energy. Ms. Kurdina has complained about these matters to the police for many years, starting at least in 2006. The police have refused to investigate Ms. Kurdina's claim. It is obvious that the police consider that Ms. Kurdina may be suffering from mental health issues. Ms. Kurdina eventually complained to the Human Rights Tribunal that the police were not investigating her claims because of their belief that she had mental health issues and thus were discriminating against her. The tribunal, upon receipt of Ms. Kurdina's application, determined that it would hold a summary hearing pursuant to its rule with respect to it. The tribunal is entitled to conduct a summary hearing regarding any application in order to determine if the application has any reasonable prospect of success. The tribunal conducted the hearing on the 1st of October 2013 by telephone, and Ms. Kurdina participated. Approximately 2 months later, the tribunal dismissed Ms. Kurdina's application. The tribunal gave detailed reasons for its conclusion. The tribunal noted that its role is to be concerned with substantive discrimination. The tribunal does not aim to eliminate all differences in treatment. Further, the tribunal held that the police had properly refused to investigate Ms. Kurdina's complaints because the nature of those complaints did not constitute a crime, and not because of any assumption that Ms. Kurdina had a mental illness. Thus, the tribunal found that there was no reasonable prospect of success for Ms. Kurdina's application. The standard of review regarding such decision is one of the reasonableness. Decisions of the tribunal are entitled to the highest degree of deference. Shaw v. Phipps, 2012. We can see no error in the conclusion reached by the tribunal in this case. Certainly, the tribunal decision cannot be seen to be an unreasonable one. Ms. Kurdina received a fair hearing at which she was allowed to provide materials and make submissions. There is therefore no basis upon which this court would interfere with or set aside the decision. The application for judicial review is dismissed. The respondents do not seek costs and none are rewarded. Of course, I deeply disagree with this decision. First of all, treatment of the police officers, such treatment of police officers of targeted individuals is not just difference in treatment. These are their policy. They treat this way all victims of mind control, psychotronic mind control weapons. And further, of course, the nature of my complaints constitute a crime. Not because of any assumptions that Ms. Kurdina had a mental illness, but they constitute a crime. They violate Nuremberg Code, Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, Criminal Code, Invasion of Privacy, I have read you, and International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. Thank you. Bye.